Hi everyone, my name is Jim Jakiko and welcome to part 3 of my critique. In this presentation, we will be looking at H&M's CSR communication and how it fares against the evaluation framework that I've built. First, let's recap H&M's CSR communication. The global fashion retailer employs multiple strategic approaches to CSR communication, leveraging transparency through reporting, a self-aware narrative, multi-stakeholder communication, omni-channel implementation, and sustainability as part of its overall corporate narrative. It expresses its commitment to sustainability through the communication of various projects, such as material innovation, an ethical commitment from partners, fair wages, employee and animal welfare, social inclusivity, and environmental sustainability. The company uses all communication tools at its disposal to create 360-degree communication of its CSR initiatives, including sustainability reporting and initiative promotion using press, social and digital media, partner marketing, and marketing activations. Now, looking at the framework that I have devised, it uses a scoring system factoring in a variety of metrics relevant to H&M's CSR communication. The scoring system examines the inputs as well as the outcomes of communication programs. For inputs, we will take a look at budget, frequency and volume, and channel diversity and appropriateness. For outcomes, we will assume that H&M is largely interested in changing brand reputation and consumer behaviors around its CSR initiatives, given its long history mired with greenwashing allegations. Reputational outcomes will consider consumer, NGO, and press sentiments, while behavioral outcomes will study consumer participation and sales figures as a function of CSR communication. Again, here's the scoring system, integrating all of those factors into one cohesive, quantitative examination of CSR initiatives by H&M. There are a total of 100 points, split between inputs and outcomes, with each category assigned a certain number of points based on predetermined criteria informed by our theoretical understanding of CSR communication. Let's look at each of the factors. First, we must acknowledge that a scoring system of this type will work best when used internally by H&M. The company will have access to data, or at least the resources to collect them, in order to assign accurate scores to each of these factors. This was made with the assumption that such an evaluation would be performed internally by the company. However, for the purposes of this exercise, we will make necessary inferences to determine scores for some of the items. While the system calls for market studies on certain concepts like budget, we will use proxy indicators such as media coverage. For instance, as we have no data on whether consumers perceive the budget as excessive, we can infer from a high rate of skepticism in stakeholder sentiment that CSR communication spending is excessive. For budget, we can make the logical assumption, based on highly skeptical media coverage, that the market thinks the company is spending excessively on promoting its CSR initiatives. While H&M has reportedly spent close to $300 million a year just on sustainable logistics investments alone, many critics still believe this is not enough for a company of its size and the nature of its business model. Surface Mag, for instance, has casually called H&M a prolific polluter, while Good on You, a directory that rates companies for their sustainability, has rated the company not good based on its policies around planet, people, and animals. Fast Company has branded the corporation as one of fashion's biggest polluters, which is quite the feat in an industry that is already known to be responsible for 10% of global carbon emissions, more than all international flights and shipping combined. There are sentiments out there that calls H&M's efforts as misdirection, evading honest conversations regarding its unsustainable business model, with some going as far as to say that it is practicing waste colonialism. For frequency and volume of messages, we will rate H&M as too low. The company has not effectively leveraged all of its available platforms to consistently message its CSR. For instance, a cursory Facebook search reveals that H&M has not itself published a single CSR-related post on its own channels in 2024. It is highly dependent on an annual schedule around the release of its sustainability report, while ignoring the potential of continuous year-round messaging. For channel appropriateness, there is heavy reliance on press and digital platforms, creating an impression that the company is not necessarily trying to engage its customers too much on the contents of its annual reports. The company does not appear to be genuinely interested in getting those messages out to its customers, instead using the activity as a must-do without understanding why consumers might be interested in learning about sustainability impacts. Diversity of channels is moderate, as we have seen. Sustainability reporting is mostly available on some obscure part of the website that is separate from the main shopping site where most customers spend their time. Social media is largely absent, and press engagement is only active during important announcements, such as the publication of the annual sustainability report and other project launches. However, the company has enabled a consumer-facing transparency layer in its product listings, which tells eco-conscious shoppers where the product was made, with what materials, and by who. As for outcomes, there seems to be a long road ahead of H&M in creating positive sentiment among its key stakeholders surrounding CSR communication effectiveness. In measuring these factors, we will again use proxy indicators to represent the overall sentiment of consumers, NGO and government, and the press. We have already identified the press as highly critical of the authenticity of H&M, with over 200,000 results just for the search terms H&M greenwashing. We also know that negative press generally leaves a greater impact than positive press, based on the phenomenon called negativity bias. Consumers have filed several class action lawsuits against the company, such as in New York and Missouri. Whether these legal proceedings result in anything meaningful is unknown, but it gives us a glimpse of consumer sentiment toward the brand and how bad it could be to result in multiple class action suits. Regulators have additionally fined H&M millions of dollars over a range of issues, from data governance to sustainability claims. In 2022, Dutch regulator ACM ordered H&M to make environmental claims clearer or remove them altogether, and also asked them to make a charitable donation of 500,000 euros to improve environmental sustainability in the fashion value chain. H&M's consumer CSR initiatives, such as the Garment Collection Drive, has collected around 170,000 tons of garments since 2013, starting with a modest 3,000 tons over a decade ago to an average of around 15,000 tons every year from 2016 and onward. However, since peaking in 2019 at just under 30,000 tons that year, participation has trended downward. We will rate this as moderate participation by consumers. Finally, sales analytics paint a completely different picture. H&M's sales figures have bounced back since the pandemic and are up to 236 billion Swedish krona in 2023, reflecting positive consumer behavior, or at least such that is apathetic to the negative CSR sentiment for the company. Overall, this gives us a score of 50 out of 100. In our rubric, this translates to scarcely effective and needing major adjustments to achieve an acceptable level of communication effectiveness based on the inputs into the process and the resulting outcomes. Again, I should reiterate that this scoring system for CSR communication evaluation will be most accurate if used internally by the company, as they will have direct data and the resources to collect additional audience perception data, such as and including spending perceptions, channel appropriateness, and consumer sentiments regarding CSR authenticity. There's my critique of H&M's CSR communication program. Thanks again for watching. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the discussion forum.